Hello everyone, I am Xerxes and this video is an old battle report of mine from another channel. I decided to migrate everything or be related to this channel, so there it is. Today we've got Witch Hunters versus Beastmen Raiders. We're playing with several house rules, they're all written down in the description of the video, so have a look at them and enjoy. I let the Xerxes from few years ago take over. Have fun.
Okay, let's start with the Beastmen, the band known as the Horned Ravagers. The top row shows all the heroes and the bottom row shows all the henchmen. So starting from the left, the leader of the warband, Durog Headtaker, he is armed with a mace and light armor. Next to him, Nezik Gloombane, a shaman, armed with an axe and light armor as well. He gets his spell from Chaos Rituals, and I got Word of Pain. That means, yeah, difficulty 7, and every single model within 3 inches gets an automatic strength 3 hit. Next to him, two Bestigor brothers, Nagaz and Bagaz Steelfist, both armed with 200 axes and wearing medium armor. Last but not least, Torgor Grimhand, Drunken Centigor, armed with a 200 mace and a light armor. Down the bottom, two henchmen, two standard Gauls, Greymouth and Cripplehorn, both armed with axes and shields. Moving on to Witch Hunters. The band is led by Captain Matthias, who is armed with a crossbow, axe and a shield. He has Burn the Witch ability, which allows him to reroll failed to hit rolls in the first round of combat against spellcasters. Next to him, warrior priest Johan. He is armed with a sword, shield, and wears light armor. He has a spell called a Hammer of Sigma, difficulty 7, and it gives him a +2 to his strength and gets an extra attack. I'm gonna check that. Bear with me. Now, we've got 3 Witch Hunters, starting from the left, Schwarzkopf, Henker, and Gretel. All 3 of them are armed with crossbows, axes, and shields, and all 3 of them have Burn the Witch ability. Down the bottom, we've got Flagellant, Aizen Flegel, who is armed with a flail and has a fanatic ability. That means he passes like all alone and morale tests, etc, etc. Next to him is a zealot, Adam der Irrer, armed with a bow, and last but not least, we've got 5 dogs who are armed with sharp teeth and a fire of Sigma burning in their hearts. It is time to deploy. So the leader, one of the witch hunters, and Flagellant and 2 dogs deploy right in front of the gate. The rest deploys next to the crater on the right flank. So we're looking at 2 routes that can go. The leader of the Beastmen, Shaman, and one of the Gauls and a Bestigor deploy next to a big tower, and the rest deploys behind a big building on the opposite side of the board. It is time to release the hounds, so 2 dogs run through difficult terrain towards the gate, followed by the Flagellant, the leader, Matthias, and Henker. On the opposite side, they release the hounds as well. They go through the crater, and then Schwarzkopf goes into the crater, followed by the Priest of Sigma. Then we've got Fanatic and Gretel that kind of a little bit struggles to climb onto the crater. That difficult terrain can be quite tricky. roll whether Centaur gets drunk. He doesn't. Then Durok orders his men to stand still. The other group follows. And that's the end of round 1. Dogs run towards basically the second half of the board next to the tree, scouting ahead. The fanatic moves towards the house, followed by a Gretel, and priest of Sigma moves on the other side of the crater, just hugging the bush, maybe getting a cover from the tree, and Schwarzkopf finishes his movement next to him. In the middle of the board, we've got dogs running towards the center of the courtyard, scouting ahead, sniffing something. Then Eisenflegel, yeah, I think I remember his name, Matthias and Henker move out of the difficult terrain. With a roll of 4, Torgor doesn't get drunk and can move normally. Greymouth goes into the building just to scout ahead, one of the, the big building they started, followed by Torgor, who is still a bit tipsy and can't quite find his footing. There we go. And Nagaz follows, paying attention to what happens to Torgor and what happens in the courtyard. The rest of the group stays still, waiting. And now we can see 2 warbands closing in on each other. We'll see who is going to surprise who will attack first and get the initiative. One of the dogs definitely smells something and rushes towards the big tower. There's something there. It got his attention. The other dog moves to the bush on the opposite side just to pay attention to that area. There were some shapes moving there before. Matthias moves closer towards the center of the courtyard to get a better vantage point. To do some shooting. Henke joins in to reinforce his captain. And Eisenflegel moves towards the right flank to be able to reinforce either his boss or the other group. The other side, dogs move into the building just to check the noise that they've heard just mere moments ago. Schwarzkopf moves closer to the tree to get a better vantage point for shooting. He saw Greymouth just seconds ago. The priest of Sigma moves closer to him, ready to cast his spell and charge possible enemy. A zealot follows the rest of the group, and so does Gretel. Priest's spell fizzles out, unfortunately. Torgor is still fine, no drunken madness. Now the group where Durok decides to move. Cripplehorn opens up, followed by Nzik, Bagaz, and obviously Durok himself. There is some minor shuffling about just to make sure that they are positioned well. On the other side, Torgor moves to another building, and then Nagaz considers his moves for a moment and decides to stay with Greymouth and be a lookout. So, 2 groups are definitely getting closer. we're probably going to see some pot shots at a Beastman. Maybe some melee as well, some charges. The dogs are called back by Schwarzkopf, so they move back a little bit. Then the Zealot moves in closer. He knows that there is a beast inside. Gretel moves to reinforce and teleport slightly, getting ready for, you know, those charges and counter charges. The priest also moves to reinforce the group. They'll bunch up nicely, and Schwarzkopf remains to shoot his crossbow. In the courtyard, Eisenfeger moves back to reinforce Henker and Matthias, who will remain there to shoot the Beastmen. Now, priest's prayer pops off, so he gets +2 strength and double wounds. Schwarzkopf will shoot Nagaz, needing 5 to hit. He misses. Then Henker will shoot the Shaman, and Matthias will shoot Bagaz. Yes. They both need 5s to hit, so Henker misses. Matthias hits, but needing 4 to wound, he doesn't wound, so Bagaz is unscathed. And this time, Torgor goes into drunken rage. Screaming loudly, or roaring, he jumps out of the building in front of these enemies. Time to declare some charges. Durog charges the dog that's been annoying them for quite some time, followed by Nzik. They'll try to deal with the mutt. Then Bagaz and Cripplehorn move closer towards the tree, but there is a bit of an argument between them as to who should go where. And after a few harsh bleats, Cripplehorn stays, but Bagaz decides to move to the other side to chase the dog away from the bushes. Now, Nagaz and Greymouth move out of the cover to reinforce Drunken Torgor, sorry. Now it's time to resolve our first melee. First, dog needs to test all alone test, and he passes, surprisingly, needing 5 or below. The Durog misses, unfortunately, and Nizik also misses. They need 4 to hit and 3 to wound. Fortunately, they roll the other way. And now the dog hits Durog, wounds with a critical hit. It's lowest crit, so 2 wounds. And with 1 and 6, he manages to jump at Durog, bite his throat, and Durog is removed from the table. That is a massive blow to the Beastmen, and another melee is about to break out on the other side of the table. So the Beastmen are at a disadvantage. It starts with charges again. One of the dogs charges Torgor. The priest charges Nagaz. A second dog doing a dorky flip also charges Nagaz. And the third dog charges Greymouth. On the other side, The fourth dog runs away from Bagaz and charges a cripple horn. In the courtyard, Eisenflagger moves to another flank just to get ready to do some charges. And also Henke and Matthias, not having any viable targets for their shots, they move closer to possibly get into a melee as well. Schwarzkopf will move closer to possibly charge someone, and the others remain. Now it's time to resolve melee. Let's start with the spell, which unfortunately fizzles out. That's bad times. So one of the dogs attacks Centigore, hits and wounds, and result of the wound is 2, so Torgor is knocked down. Now another dog attacks Nagaz, but fails. Then the priest hits, needing 4, and needs 5 to wound, which he gets. Now it's time for Nagaz to make a +5+ armor save, but as you can see he fails. And now the result of a wound is 2, which is also knocked down. Now the third dog attacks Greymouth, but misses, and so does the dog that charged Cripplehorn. Now it's time to counterattack. Greymouth attacks the dog with 6, so he hits, needing 4. Now needing 4 to wound, he rolls a critical hit. And the critical hit is 5, so strongest critical, that's 2 wounds, no armor save, +2 to wound roll. And with roll of 6, and I believe the last one was 5, Greymouth pummels the dog into the pavement. Cripplehorn hits and wounds the dog that charged him, and the result of a wound is stunned, so the dog falls on his face. Now, the melee between the shaman and the dog. Now, we do it in the initiative order. So, dog hits shaman, but fails to wound, needing 4. Now, shaman hits back, needing 4. Then, needing 3 actually to wound, he wounds. And removes the dog from the board, getting an experience point because he's a hero. Beastmen round starts with Torgor and Nagaz getting up. They are still in combat and they will attack last. After that, Greymouth charges Schwarzkopf. Shaman decides to charge Matthias. This will be an interesting one. And Bagaz charges Henke. Now, combat phase. Cripplehorn removes downed dog, bringing casualties to 3, so it'll be a rout test. Now, a Greymouth attacks Schwarzkopf but whiffs. Then Shaman attacks Matthias, manages to hit, needing 4, and doesn't wound. Now Matthias returns, he fails to hit, needing 4, then he rerolls due to his ability, but also fails to hit. And now moving to Bagaz Schwarzkopf, Henker attacks first because Bagaz has a two-handed weapon, so Henker hits, needing 4, rolling 6, and he needs 5 to wound, so he doesn't wound. Now, Agaz tries to return, needing 3 to hit, but he fails. Now Schwarzkopf returns to favor, or tries to, but he misses. Now the dog attacks, not Durog, Torgor, sorry. I'm confusing them too. But unfortunately, he misses, needing 4. Then, another dog hits Agaz, but fails to wound. And now, the priest attacks, needing 4. He hits, and then needs 5 to wound, unfortunately. Rolls 2 and fails to wound. Now, the Centaur whiffs, and Nagaz also whiffs. It is time for Witch Hunters to do the route check. Matthias needs 8 or below, but rolls boxcars and fails. Witch Hunters run away from battle, giving Beastmen the victory. Some post-battle, rolling for injuries first. Starting with dogs, all of them survive because the results are 3 or above. And now, Durog. He gets 53, so that's full recovery. Now, Wisdom roll for Witch Hunters, which is a bad roll. So they get 9, which gives them 2 shards, but double 1 is a well. So one of them, Schwarzkopf, can dive in a well, make a toughness check needing 3 or below, which he passes and he gets extra Weirdstone. Now double 2 is d6 gold coins, which they get 3 of. Now, off to Beastman, better roll 16, which gives them 3 shards. Also they encounter a well, but this time one of the Bestigors dives in, and he also passes, giving him a 4th Weirdstone. Double 4 is a struggler, whom the Beastmen interrogate, getting an extra die in rolling for fines during the next battle. So, that's it! The first battle report is complete. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please consider leaving a like, leaving a feedback, or subscribing and sharing, of course. And yes, thank you again for your time. So as per usual, yes, leave all your thoughts below. And yes, for now, that'll be it. I thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.